UYU is the number 2 seed in Pool E, and after a very interesting Rostermania period, this squad is going to be in a very interesting pool as well. Not finding a lot of success during the cross-div. Should this team be feeling any confidence going in after Miami as a top 12 seed against these teams that are coming from the open bracket looking for blood, and will they be able to even make it out of their pool? We address that and more in this episode of 32 on 32. Con fans, welcome back. We'll be dealing with UYU today. I know a lot of you guys know how I felt about their changes since the Rostermania period, but hey, we got to be objective here and look at just exactly what this team was able to do since those roster changes and what their outlook is looking like as far as their potential to finish top 2 in their pool. I gotta say potential because I don't think by any stretch of the imagination it should be a secured confidence going through. So let's take a look at their pool just very quickly. Again, if you didn't remember, we'll be dealing with Luminosity, and then from the open bracket, Team Singularity and Vanity Esports. Again, a couple of squads in here that have shown that they very well could be major threats to UYU and potentially their hopeful secured spot in a top 2 spot. This roster in specific is an interesting one as you're dealing with Phantoms, Saints, Methods, Blast, and Classic. Again, to be candid, let's be honest with each other here. These were all pieces of the puzzle that were thrown away from other teams. Methods is the only player that really stuck with this squad, and that you can tell that he's the one player that they're trying to kind of revolve the team around. So is there any real possibility of this team making waves? Well, based on what we've seen so far, as we take a look back at their history from this year, they had to come through the PLQ, again, totally different roster, and they looked pretty solid. Methods and Mayhem specifically, I was really excited to watch as they were looking really good. They also had Parzellian coming into the mix as they finished top 12 at Fort Worth, another top 12 at London, a top 16 at Anaheim, and then again, another top 12 at Miami. So not the worst placements ever. It absolutely could be worse. But you take a look at the map mode statistics specifically for this team since they formed, and there's not a lot to really be happy about. 1-7 in the hard point with a huge minus differential, minus 68.6 differential on average per map per hard point. That's the worst statistic that we've seen this year. That's not great. That means that on average, when you're losing matches at minus 70 points a match, you don't like to see that. It's not good. It's not good at all. And that's definitely one of the biggest departments for this squad is the respawn mode in specific. Their time and their energy when it comes down to what they're able to do in control is not much better. They're 1-5 there, 1.33 average to 2.67 given up on average per map. That's not good. And those are 3 of the 5 maps that you might be potentially playing. So if you're not able to find a win in the respawn, your hopes of getting out of this pool are completely empty. But here's the good news for this team is we started to see signs of life for them in the respawn during their time at Miami. They had a very convincing win against Envy when they found the 3-0, a 250 to 145 win on frequency for them, and then a 3-1 win on frequency control for them. Very good stuff. Their search and destroy has also been serviceable since this Rostermania period has happened for this squad, as they sit at an even 3-3, 4 rounds on average for them, 5 rounds on average against them, which again just goes to show you that their wins, they're usually pretty narrow, and their losses are a little bit less narrow when it comes down to it. Again, Evil Geniuses destroyed them, flat out. Evil Geniuses made them look like the team that they were during Cross Divisional, which is not a team that many people enjoyed to watch. 0-6 on the Arsenal Search and Destroy, 176-250 in the Hacienda Hardpoint, and an 0-3 on the Arsenal Control. So, let's bring things full circle here. There were a lot of conversation points, and Methods himself said that this team has been working a lot, and they've been getting a lot better every single day. When you heard them previously, I think I was in Crowder Outers when he was on the podcast, and you feel a little bit more confident about that. And based on their performance versus Envy, okay, there's signs of life. We're seeing what this team has the potential to do. My question becomes, because that entire set was played on frequency, do they have any flexibility to go anywhere else? This team didn't win a single hard point during the Cross Divisional, only 2 search and destroys during the 4 matches that they played in the Cross Div, and they were 0-4 in the Control. It's hard to pick out pieces to make you feel confident about this team. If I'm being completely candid, it's very hard to relate to anything that they've been able to do this year and say, this team's going to be fine. They're going to be comfortable getting out of pools. You just can't say it. The statistics speak for themselves. So what do you do, and where are your hopes for this pool? The good news is you're dealing with a couple of amateur teams that don't have the most experience in the world when it comes down to professional experience compared to other open teams. You know what I mean? Like, they're not dealing with squads that have the same kind of names that have been, Amazer Gaming or the Boys or Team War, where you have players that have played in the Pro League this year. You're going up against teams that don't have that same kind of experience at playing at that level. You do have a couple of players in Team Singularity, though, that are very familiar with one another. They played together at the PLQ. They've been playing together throughout the entirety of the year, and they've been playing very well throughout the entirety of the year. And similar story for Vanity, a squad that stuck together after Anaheim, getting together at Miami, and had 2 great performances there. So, that's concerning, I think, generally speaking. The only other part of kind of glimmer of hope when it comes down to it is that those 2 teams are still figuring themselves out, and Luminosity has been, like we mentioned in their video, not the most versatile team when it comes to maps. So there is preparation that can be put in to specifically do well with this pool. However, my confidence in this team is not very high, just to be completely honest. And that might come off as harsh for some of you guys, but how can I? How can anyone sit here and look at the statistics that we have right in front of us as far as this roster and its performances and say that as a number 2 seed, they should feel fine getting out of the pools? They played up against an Envy squad at Miami that looked completely lost. That team, again, similar questions for me when it comes down to, are they going to be able to get out of their pool as the number 2 seed? I'm not feeling great about it, to be completely honest. You take a look at Saints, and again, when I was going through codstats.gg, was looking for the number 1 player listed from the CWL Pro League as far as rating and KD goes, and Saints was that player. He's been playing on the SMG. He's only got a .88 overall average rating and a .94 average KD. Now, there have been moments with these players on this squad where they've shown that they can be monster players. Phantoms has played very well in the AR spot. Saints has had a couple of moments where it says, okay, Saints, we see you. Blast and Methods, similar story when it comes down to how they've played on the Maddox and specifically, where they've had moments in this game where they've looked incredible. Classic, same idea. But again, you listen to all of those names come across you, and I think that the general first reaction is mostly negative connotation as far as how they've individually played on other teams so far this year. So will this kind of band of misfits be able to come together and actually put together something magical? It's possible. I mean, again, you might be able to come through with the mentality of nobody wanted us from our teams. Let's show them that we were actually worth something and that we can be major competitors. But it's hard to make that argument based on the evidence that we have in front of us. So as far as this pool goes, you look back at it just quickly. I personally don't see UYU getting out of the pool. I've got Team Singularity probably beating them and getting in the number 2 spot, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if Vanity were to be able to do similar things with this pool, because again, I think between Elevate and UYU, and those are probably 2 of the weakest squads coming forward out of the CWL, and again, something spectacular would have had to have happened between Miami and Champs for this UYU team to feel comfortable in this pool finishing number 2, because I think that with these teams, again, even though there's not the biggest names on Singularity or Vanity, they're familiar with one another. They've been playing with one another for a very long time in one form or another, and that comfortability leads to a lot of things that is established roles, established map pool. What are we good at? What are we bad at? They're going to know their strengths and weaknesses, while other teams in the open bracket in the similar standings as far as where they placed are still kind of figuring themselves out because of how recently they formed. So a lot of things stacked up against UYU. Not feeling very confident in it. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say and what your thoughts on this team are compared to other teams in their pool. I'd be interested to get that conversation going. But that's going to wrap things up here for UYU. We'll be moving on to our open bracket teams next, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, ring the bell to get notifications of when these videos do pop up live. And until the next one, hope you keep holding it down. Later, bye-bye.